In this presentation, we will cover organic grape farming with a focus on the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast area of the United States. Specifically, we will address how to get organically certified and the issues specific to locale. First, we need to understand what organic certification means. For grapes to be considered organic, the soil they are grown in must not have been treated with any prohibited substances for the prior 36 months. The banned and approved products can all be found online through the USDA Organics webpage or on the web pages for the electronic codes of federal regulations, the National Organic Program. Adequate buffer zones must exist between certified and non-certified lands. Buffer zones can vary from 50 to 250 feet and are dependent on the equipment used on adjacent land. Dense hedgerows are encouraged, but open air zones are also permitted. After certification occurs, the grapevines and soil must not be exposed to synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, or any other prohibited products. Anything planted must originate from organic seeds or stocks. It should be noted that because some viticultural needs have very limited product availability, there are allowances for items such as planting stock and occasionally treatments in extreme situations. However, for any of these cases, you must get prior approval from the USDA. Please keep in mind that this information only covers grape growing and viticulture practices. Once certified, if all of these steps are followed, a wine may be labeled made from organic grapes. For a wine to be labeled organic, the necessary practices continue well beyond the scope of this presentation. The first step of obtaining your organic certification is to fully adopt all organic practices. There are certain timelines that a grape grower must follow and others that are allowed leniency. For example, since it may take longer for a seedling to become a producing vine than the 36 months soil needs to transition to an organic state, flexibility around this timing can be allowed. Secondly, the USDA will provide a list of certifying agencies that will review your application, your plans and protocols for maintaining organic standards, and verify your compliance. You may choose from any of these agencies provided to you. Third, there will be an on-site inspection after your application is reviewed and approved. If the inspection is successful, certification will be rewarded. It is worth noting that records on organic practices must be kept for 5 years, and inspections may occur at any time. One might ask, how much does it cost to get certified? Initial certification can be lengthy and cost from hundreds to thousands of dollars. You must renew your certification yearly at an additional $1,000. Also, keep in mind that permitted USDA organic products generally have a higher price tag. Because the number of available products is limited and is often not as effective, meticulous care and maintenance is required to avoid crop loss in this region. These methods take time and can greatly increase labor costs. It is estimated that most organic wines should cost about 25% more than what a similar conventional wine would cost. Aside from the challenges of getting certified, there are even larger climate challenges of growing on the East Coast. Because of extreme weather conditions, any grape grower, but especially organic grape growers, are faced with a multitude of issues. These challenges include cold damage, late frost, short seasons, humidity and rain, and hurricanes, just to name a few. All of these weather conditions increase the likelihood for disease. Because there are so many challenges and because of a limited supply of treatments allowed through organic practices, these are the 5 grape varieties, 4 specific to wine, that are suggested for growing in these conditions. Just as variety selection is limited, soil nutrition management has very specific guidelines. Soil nutrient management, or fertilizer choice, is also limited. Because of cooler temperatures in the region, microorganisms are less active for breaking down nutrients. The soils are often still cool in times of growth, especially early season when nutrients are needed. Long-term plans need to be developed and applied ahead of time. Pre-planning is also necessary because some products take time to acquire. Any good vineyard practices steady soil and petiole sampling to monitor nutrient levels. In addition to these, compost and manure, other nutrient sources, are recommended for testing. However, manure must be applied according to the USDA provided timing window before harvest. Disease management is perhaps the largest challenge to East Coast grape farmers. High vigor and short, humid seasons vastly increase the likelihood of disease. While minimum risk pesticides and fungicides are allowed, their effectiveness is lower than their conventional counterparts, making disease management a larger challenge for organic farmers. Grape growers, again, must develop a long-term plan for combating disease. To be successful, this should start at the beginning of vineyard design, a site that promotes airflow, decreasing frost pockets, and drying out wet or humid vines, along with well-draining healthy soils, is ideal for any vineyard, but especially an organic vineyard. Canopy maintenance is incredibly necessary to combat vigor and allow airflow and sunlight to dry grapes out. As stated before, grape variety is important to combat not only the cold weather, but phylloxera and other pests. Lastly, cleaning between growing season helps clear the vineyard of microbes that may be left over from harvest. With all of this, it seems clear that organic grape growing in the Northeast can be a tall task. It is helpful when deciding to go organic that there is also some contradictory information out there. While organic farming is thought by some to be a more natural, healthy, or more earth-friendly practice, this is not always the case. Organic farming in terroir, the idea of wine expressing its natural environment in the finished product, are often packaged as one. However, a study in 2017 found that copper, one of the most commonly used organic fungicides, reduces the biodiversity of a vineyard. Of 7 species located in one vineyard, only 2 were found to be resistant to copper. The majority of naturally occurring yeast populations were changed and reduced. If the native fungi are sensitive to these products, the notion of terroir is false because these organic practices altered the natural biodiversity. Another study in 2013 found that copper applications can lead to groundwater contamination. Because copper is applied as a foliar spray, it is difficult to project how much will be taken into the soil. When autumn comes and the leaves return to the ground, multiple factors impact where the copper ends up. Copper treatments, year after year, can build up if not handled responsibly. Copper is toxic and prohibited above certain levels. If soil retention is low, copper can run off and into water supplies. In the final study, the impact of organic labeling was measured on wine buyers and found to often negatively impact the likelihood of purchasing. In wines under $15, organic labeling had a positive impact. In more expensive wines, it had a negative impact in purchasing likelihood. Knowledge of organic practices and label understanding was one measure that was monitored. Interestingly, for the study members that understood what organic labeling meant for vineyard practices, the likelihood of them buying organic products lessened more than those who did not. It was inferred that all study members thought that for conventional wines, as price increased, quality was thought to increase too. However, with organic wines, as price increased, quality was not assumed to increase. It is also worth noting that organic wines should be budgeted to sell roughly 20 to 25% higher than a similar conventional wine to cover the increased cost of production. What often isn't clear, and even came up in the previous study, is why people choose to go organic. In the Northeast, it seems that battling climate conditions is often an uphill battle, even for non-organic farms. So whether the growers' motivations have risen from wanting to market to a specific consumer base, or because of assumed environmental benefits, the evidence is inconclusive at best. While organic certification wouldn't be possible for some practices, if environmental issues is a grower's motivation to go organic, these are other alternatives that are often easier to implement and leave lighter carbon footprints.